I'm Nestle Wright. I think you all know that. But thank you so much for actually showing up. We're here tonight to talk about design a sustainable life. And let's see if I can get this. That's me. So I'm really happy that you guys decided that it was worthwhile to come out and listen to me speak tonight. I have been asked for the last couple of years about what's been going on with my life. Normally, I am an interior architect, interior designer, feng shui person, kitchen person, bathroom person, and that's what I talk about. I've done a lot of lectures on that kind of stuff. Tonight's a little bit different. Tonight I'm actually going to be sharing a personal story about my life. Obviously, part of my life is being a designer, but my holistic overall life is just me as a human being. I'm just a chica trying to do my best, right? And so tonight is a very vulnerable story because I've been asked it. Friends, give me a couple glasses of wine, clients. I talk about the things that matter to me. And I ended up doing some things, spoiler alert, I moved to Spain a couple years ago. And I did that because I tried to design a sustainable life. So tonight's going to be my story about why I did it, how I did it, what I became as a result of it, with the goal and the idea that I can inspire some of you guys to live more sustainably, both on the inside as well as on the outside, because everything's interconnected. I, first of all, want to say thank you. The first thank you is to this incredible showroom. This team makes it so easy for me to just show up and do my talk, and I get this whole Beyonce thing. But the space is also so incredibly beautiful. The team is incredibly wonderful. So Fisher Paykel is a sustainable appliance kitchen dealer. And if there's anybody in here that is not an interior designer or in the industry, it is a great place to come and actually start to understand a lot more about what kitchen appliances are. As an award-winning kitchen designer, I'm really all about working and collaborating with people who are all about sustainability. And Fisher Paykel started grassroots as a New Zealand company. They're green, they're just green people. If you've never been to New Zealand, they are crunchy. Right? And these guys, we have won a whole bunch of high ratings in Energy Star, well water reduction, and they started a recycling program that's so close to my heart that over 2 decades, they removed 20,000 tons out of landfill because of their recycling program. Woohoo! So great. So I thank them for making the physical environment for tonight possible. And I also thank them for making the actual environment better. So, which is kind of a nice thing between the two, inner and outer, they're great. The one thing I will say is I'm still advocating for smaller appliances, people. I live in Europe, we have smaller appliances and we can live really, really, really well that way. So that's my first thank you. My second thank you is to you guys. I wouldn't be here talking if people weren't listening. Well, that's not really 100% true, but for the most part, I love to share my passion. It's really important to me about sustainability. Really touches my heart. You'll know a little bit more through my story, but it gives me goosebumps. And I wouldn't have an audience if you guys didn't care. And so I'm really happy that you did care. This has gotten a great result. We don't have 100 people sitting here tonight. Gonna blame the weather. Ooh, climate change. But we had 100 people RSVP to this. I had to shut the doors. That tells me that you guys care. I'm so excited. It gives me goosebumps. It gives me hope. And therefore, it should give you hope. So tonight, I want to say a big thank you because I'm standing up here because I'm trying to make a difference. Right? And I can only make a difference with you. We work together. So, thank you. So, design a sustainable life. The funny thing about sustainability, as with all these jargons in the world, as designers we talk in our own language, as architects we talk in our own language, as lawyers, as tax accountants, we need to have like a dictionary to understand what people are talking about. Sustainability has become like the word, okay? I've been using sustainability and holistic for really a long time. I'm just so not young. And sustainability was never about eco-green. Sustainability was simply, truly, when you think about the definition. Does anyone want to give me what they think the definition of sustainability is? Come on, I know you're looking at me. Tell me what you think sustainability is.
I think it's something that we can, I just want to say sustain. I mean, something
Exactly. That's it.
Sustain.
Can we keep doing this? Is it something that you can, longevity, perfect. Something we can keep doing. And I'm just going to twist that a little bit. That doesn't hurt anybody, right? But that's kind of sustainability. Or ourselves. So I always, Raphael Love was a friend of mine, an entrepreneur, and he's been dead for a couple of years. But I love the fact that when we talked, he quoted this and posted this all over the place. That I said, these are the things that I always ask myself. And it was like, wow. So every decision I make, is it sustainable? Is it sustainable for me, for the world, for everybody? And especially about my business. Is this going to hurt anybody or is it going to help people? Because we live in a really unconscious world. So I just started asking these questions a long time ago. Got a little bit scared with some of the answers. That's the reason why my life has gone the way it has. But these questions, if you start asking them, I printed this and put this on my wall a long time ago. And I invite you to do the same. Because this is what I want, people. I'm up here talking because I want to make a big difference. I want to make a big difference in a really happy, positive, super cool way. The world, climate change, it's really scary and it's terrifying and geez, I just left where I live now, Spain and France. They had one of the worst heat waves they've ever had on record. People are dropping dead. They don't have air conditioning like we do here. They just don't because they never needed it. Bordeaux was not hot. Bordeaux was 108 last week. They don't even know what to do. They don't even know how to drink water, people, so they are really having a hard time. So the goal for this night, this conversation is ripple effect, people. We work better as a community. You know that really trite saying, it takes a village to raise a child? It takes a community to make change. I'm throwing out this pebble because I want us to really start raising our game, people. And I know we can do it. Convenience is not going to win. We are going to make a difference. So, I'm an interior architect and I'm a designer. So there's always the metaphor of the process of what you do. There's creativity that's kind of like mind mapping all over the place. But then there's project management, which is you can't do B before you do A. You can't do C until you've done B and A. So there's a process. And I really love the fact that I've always thought I was the designer of my own life. Always. Figured out I could do it. If I could do it for you, I could make you a pretty home, make you a beautiful home. I could do that for me too, but in a kind of bigger context. And so I introduced this concept to other people to think that it's not just making your home pretty, it's about making your life pretty. So you are in control. You're a lot more in control than you think you are. We don't always feel that way. We feel very much out of control. And I get that. Having stepped away and having a little bit of objectivity by not living directly in the United States for the last couple of years, there's fear-mongering everywhere. There's politics everywhere. But you need to make sure that you feel empowered. And this is what I'm going to try to give you some steps, talking you through my kind of crazy life story about how you can feel empowered too. 3 steps. Project management, life management. You have to realize while you're doing something. You have to clarify what you're gonna do, who's gonna do it, and then you're gonna figure out how it's gonna be done. Architects and designers in the room, pretty much project management, right? This is exactly what you do when you're redoing someone's kitchen. But it is exactly what you do when you're redesigning your life. So, I did my spoiler alert. I live in San Sebastian, Spain now. But obviously, once upon a time, you know, I used to live here, and I lived here for a long time. I lived in New York for 25 years. A little while in London, but you know, London, New York, similar vibration, right? So, why oh why me? Why did it happen? You know, we ask this question, it's a little bit of a self-pity party. When the shit is hitting the fan, you are like, why is this happening to me? She's doing really well, god darn it. Wow, everybody else is looking so great. They were so happy on their Facebook posts. Instagram, and oh my god, did I just see someone in that car? And shit, they got that freaking client I wanted. You know, you're like, why oh why me? We can fall into that. Hey, I am not standing up here because I am perfect. Oh my God, I am standing up here because I am so not perfect. I mess up. I have made so many mistakes in my life, but I do desperately try to correct and continue the whole time. I'm just not going to give up. But I was having a little bit of a pity party a couple years ago. First of all, because, you know, technology has done this really fun thing in the interior design world, which is nothing personal. I come from Rochester, New York, the home of Kodak. Kodak is this great story about this magnificent company that didn't think that digital cameras were ever going to take off. They invented the first digital camera and stuck it up on a shelf and said, hey, we're making all this money with film. We do not need to worry about it. Kodak doesn't exist. Go to Rochester, it is a dying town. So heartbreaking because it was the heart and the soul. Because their industry was radically disrupted by technology. So I remember hearing this story like 15 years ago. You know, the entrepreneurial, I'm running my own company, I'm doing my own thing, I'm doing pretty good. Lindsay used to work for me, I was like, woo, in my office and clients, I was winning awards, I was in magazines, life was good. And then, bam, I'm like, yeah, but this isn't a digital camera thing happening. Oh, kitty cats, yes it is. Interior designers are still having a hard time catching up with that concept. But you know, we all are. Change is tough, especially when you studied for 5 years and have a degree, and I've been doing it for 20. I don't want to change my game. I just figured out how to do it well. It wasn't my choice. And just whatever industry you're in, technology is here to stay. And it's going to disrupt your industry one way or the other. My industry, radically disrupted. Took a long time to figure that out. I'm like, okay, I can get on board. I can do this. I was really scared of computers. My ex-husband was a computer geek. My dad was a computer guru. I had a whole bunch of guy friends that did that stuff. I know that sounds really sexist, but it's true. I'm a creative. I wanted to paint and design and do all that stuff. I didn't want to figure out how to get rid of the virus in my computer, or God forbid, learn how to Facebook or post or any of these things. I was happy being a designer. But I didn't have a choice. The industry came to a radical pivotal moment. And it just completely changed the way people shop, the way people hire interior designers. And I'm really excited because in this world, design has become cool and sexy and hip, and everybody wants a really great house. Everybody wants that cool sofa. Wallpaper. Yeah, it's now here. It's so great. But you know, HGTV, we made a little bit of a mistake and we made everybody believe that they can do it on their own. I know, but we have, and it's such a bummer. I'm like, oh my God, they're lying to you on television. And we still don't get that. Reality television is reality. They do lie to you. Or they don't give you the whole truth because they want to seduce you into whatever. So I'm happy that people think that their spaces make a difference. Obviously, that's what I do, and it's the way I think, both as an interior designer as well as somebody who's a very holistic, healing type of person. Your spaces matter. But I also believe that you need to get professional help to help you to do some of the things that you don't know how to do or you don't have the time to do. So our industry has lost a little bit of that in the world. And everybody wants a bargain. I mean, who doesn't like a bargain? I get that. I got a bargain for you later, but that's another story. But everybody wants a bargain. So all of a sudden, where I was making good money, no longer was I making good money. People were like, really? You really want to charge that amount? Well, I don't really want that. I want another kind of package. And it just was disruptive. It was hard for me, being a little bit of an old chica, you know, I've been doing it for a while. I thought I had it down pat, and oh my God, I had to change my mind. I had to figure out something new. And I did. But the change isn't stopping. And that's another thing. This wave, it's like the ocean. Waves upon waves upon waves. You think you figure it out, you figure out AutoCAD, and then you have to figure out Revit. Of course, I've never figured out either. I still hand draft. Oh, that's another story. But here you go. The waves of change are always going to happen. You cannot think that you're going to redo your living room, except for some of us, like Barbara, once and then never have to do it again. I know. Yeah. This is a sustainable client story. I haven't seen this one for a very long time. And I did her project, oh God, 15 years ago. And they literally just repainted the exact same colors that I chose 15 years ago. And it was kind of kismet that they're here tonight. So nice to know it's still the same. Sustainable, exactly. So why, oh, why me? What happened to me? Hit in the middle of the head industry, disruption, rocked my world. You know, we all have these too. You know, I just had a moment in my life where things weren't really going so good. I don't know if it was the industry disruption that kind of changed my vibration, or if it was the economic collapse that happened around me, or what have you. My bathroom flooded in my apartment that I owned, which was a disaster. I had one bathroom, so the bathroom was completely destroyed. But it also destroyed the person's bathroom below me. And it was from the people above me. So there was like war in my apartment building because the people above me were like so unhappy that I was unhappy. And I'm like, your bathroom flooded me. And the people below me were really unhappy and I had to fork out all the money to fix them and the fights with the insurance companies. You guys all have these stories. It was just bad luck. It was a cluster, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, wow, that really is not so good. That's not good. You know, I had a bad breakup. We all have those sad stories too, you know. So I had a bad breakup at the same time as my apartment flooding. And then I had an office space that was really cute in Tribeca for a long time. And my Korean landlord decided that he was no longer renewing my lease. And he gave me a month.
What?
Bye! I'm like, oh my God, I have 6 desks, 12 computers, you know, whatever. Like just a ton of stuff after being there for a long time, right? So bad luck streak. It happens. But that piles up, cumulative effect. And then, you think you're always going to have time. So I'm having a really shitty year. It's not a good year. Worried about my business, getting out of my office, got rid of nasty ex-boyfriend, dealing with the flood, became really good friends with one of the neighbors that I completely destroyed her apartment. And, you know, you're trying to get your stability. And it's around Christmas, and I'm supposed to go to Florida to see my stepsister for Christmas. Now, if you don't know, my mom's been dead for a very, very long time. So my stepsister was like a pseudo-mom. And I'm like, hey, Kathy, I'm not going to come see you at Christmas because I'm going to see you for your birthday in a couple of months. You know where the story is going, right? So that was Christmas, and I said, I'm not coming, and she was totally disappointed, but always super cool and supportive of me. The 3rd of January, I got a phone call from her husband. She was in the hospital. And of course, I found the money and the time to go see her to say goodbye. And on the 17th of January, gone. We have this cumulative effect, right? So I'm just a normal person, I have a life. But it was the straw. It was the straw that completely, utterly broke me. Some of you who know me for a long time, I'm a pretty strong, formidable woman. I've been through a lot. I can do it until I can't. Until you can't. And one of the things that really happened when Kathy died was it was like, you know, you hear this from other people, but when it happens to you, it's like the veil fell, the light bulb went on, and the matrix woke up or blurred in front of me or whatever, and I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? 14 hours a day in my company, 6 days a week. And I was wondering why I had a bad boyfriend and I was single. Anyways, my poor cat and me, that's it. I was thinking, wow, 14 hours a day, 6 days a week. And I love what I do. I'm pretty good at what I do. I loved mentoring people and having people in my life and really changing their life. Am I not good to me? At some point, that's going to dry up. And I was broken. And I knew I was broken. It took me a little while to really admit just how broken I was because, you know, I'm stubborn too. Makes me a good designer and all that kind of stuff. But I was stubborn. I'm like, no, I can do this. No, I can do this. And then I couldn't. I just couldn't. A decision is a conclusion after consideration to act. I'm a deep thinker. I'm a deep talker. It took me a while. But when that straw came and broke my back, I had to really think. I gotta make a decision to do something because that's not working. And it should be working. I had a beautiful apartment in Gramercy with my very beautiful cat. I was winning awards, I had this thing. Okay, the industry's disrupting, but everybody else seems to be doing okay. You know, I can get through this. And I was like, I guess my reality is just not the same as everybody else's reality. And I had to just say, that's okay. So I made a decision that I actually had to do something. And the first thing I realized at that moment was those 14-hour days, those 6 days a week, is bullshit, people. It is a collective delusion. Don't know who started it, but boy, is this country good at it. England's not so far behind. Maybe some other European countries, but not really. I live there. They have a much better handle on things. They are not obsessed with the almighty God dollar. Money is like our God. It's like this crazy cycle. The more money I get, the more I can get stuff, the more happy I'm going to be, I think. The more I have to work to get money, the more I have to get stuff, the more I have to work to keep the stuff that I've got. Do we see that this is like a collective delusion? Like we have bought into it. And forgive me for being so harsh, because I know you're all living in New York City and you haven't done this thing, but it's like, wow, people, like it is tough to think that that's a sustainable, long-term plan. When I first started my career a million years ago, I've been a designer for like 30 years. God, can't even be possible, but it's true. When I wanted to get a little bit ahead in the game, I worked extra hours. I did get noticed. I did get that promotion. And at that point, I was probably working 12 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours. I was coming in on the odd Saturday. Now, that's the norm, right? I don't even want to know. How many hours a day do you work normally? Somebody answer. Too many. Yeah. Right? Is there anyone here that says that they don't work enough? You know, so the collective delusion was the first thing I made a decision that I had to say I had to break free from it. hard. I'm a workaholic, people. I'm a type A personality. I love what I do. Not so easy. I tried to break that habit once before and it didn't work. Kind of like, person can't quit smoking or whatever. I just stopped working. I'm like, but I got it. I got to because I really think I don't want to be 59 planning my 60th birthday and drop dead. I don't want that. I want to have a boyfriend. I want to have a life. I want to have stuff. So I needed to break that. I love this. I don't know if anybody knows who this quote's by. Step with care and great tact. Remember that life's a great balancing act. Okay, you're going to Google it so you can tell us.
No, I'm not Googling. I'm not taking a picture.
Anyways, I think it's Dr. Seuss. Right? So, I'm a quotes person. But it's true, balancing is really important. When I started this presentation, I said there were 2 words I've been using for a long time, way before they became cool and sexy and trendy. Holistic is one of them. I've called myself a holistic designer since I started my company in 2002. Seems like a long time ago. Holistic just means you look at everything. That's balance, right? And it's so crazy. I became and studied in the middle of my world a feng shui designer, feng shui practitioner, because they talk about balance, they talk about flow. To me, great feng shui is great balance, great harmony, great sustainability. It really is about that. So I made a decision that I needed to walk the walk for me, not just for all the people that hire me. So I come and tell you what to do and how to live a balanced life, make sure the flow is there, go on vacation, redo your house to make sure that the energy is working for you, spend time in your house. I realize that it's a big balancing act, and it's a continual balancing act. So that was the second decision I made.
Dr. Seuss? Cute.
And then this was the biggest decision I made. That was a really radical decision, as you can imagine. I'm an interior designer. What do I do for a living? I buy stuff for people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a space person. And I had made it, people. I had this great apartment with undulating gold ceilings. It was a hot apartment in Gramercy. It was so beautiful. I had made it. Me and my little crystal, we were in the apartment. It was great. It was such a beautiful place. But this was the moment I had but I'm not really happy here. Like, this is not working for me. So if it's not working for me, there's something wrong with this picture. I'm not gonna let the collective delusion keep me in that world any longer than I need it to be. But man, can I tell you how hard that was. My ego was wrapped up in that apartment. It was beautiful. It was designed by the best designer I know. Hardest client I've ever had. And I loved the apartment, but I realized that I needed to break out in a kind of radical way. So I said goodbye. Sold my apartment in a weekend. I didn't expect that, but it set me on the fast track, no going back. I had to get rid of all my stuff. Being a sustainable person, I gave it away, donated it, blah, 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 as much as I possibly could. And took very little into a friend's apartment in the Bronx for a while. But I said goodbye. And of course, as a designer, we're used to that, right? Sometimes we have to have our clients who want a new dining table, and we have to help them figure out ways to let go of their stuff. Letting go of everything, and then really going back, it's a totally different thing. What's her name? Maria Kondo, the decluttering chica, Spark Joy. So decluttering has become trendy. I just did a whole white paper on how decluttering hurts, or clutter hurts you. And then someone said, oh, you're just like Maria. I'm like, who's Maria? So you have when you don't have a television in Spain. Mm-hmm. But letting go of the stuff opened my life up in a way that was really amazing. I was so free. Because not only as a designer, and designers and architects can have this, we get obsessed with stuff. We get obsessed with our own stuff, we get obsessed with other people's stuff. So it really opened up a space for me. Sold the apartment, got rid of all the stuff. Obviously, I got some more stuff back, but that's continuing. And then the third thing was, I kind of love New York because I've always been in love with New York. My aunt worked for the United Nations in the 60s and 70s. Cool, right? It was a cool place then. And it was where I got my palms red, and I tried Chinese food for the first time in the Empire State Building. My first job was in the World Trade Centers, Mancini Duffy. I loved New York City. It was such a great place, and I was like, oh my God, this is my home. Much more so than Rochester, just let me tell you. But I'm like, the vibe's not working for me. It was running a bit too fast. Always had to go from A to B. Those 14 hours were necessary for me to actually pay for my life the way I wanted my life to be then. And I knew that it was too difficult for me to change all those things at once if I didn't change my space. So the first step had been to get rid of the space. And then I realized, I possibly need to get rid of the space from me. Now, I'm not saying everybody needs to change their space. To change their life means they have to move to Spain. But maybe, because it worked for me. So, sold my apartment, moved to Spain, thought it was going to be for a year. Thought I was going to learn Spanish, write my book, check those things off my bucket list, and figure out what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And I was going to continue my design projects on my computer from Spain, just because I had to figure out how to do it. I was like, I'm just going to do it. And I did it. And it was 4 years ago. 1 year rolls into the next. I really don't want to leave the sound of the waves. I figured out how to do what I do in a different way. I became a little bit more me. No one else is more youer than you. Another Dr. Seuss. There is no one alive who is youer than you. Who did I become as a result of this change? I became a bit of a tree hugger. I know it's kind of embarrassing. I've never loved trees so much in my life. San Sebastian has 3 beautiful beaches, and it's surrounded by mountains, and so I get trees and water. The 2 elements that I was missing in New York City. New York City is mostly fire and metal. And I have a lot of fire and metal, for those of you who don't know my elemental side. So being in a place that's fire and metal, a little bit too much of a good thing is a bad thing. So being in San Sebastian, I got a lot of earth and a lot of water. So I'm loving my trees. I love my trees so much. And I started to feel my real passion. Like, I get super excited about eco things, about doing cool things. I'm stupid excited, like I get goosebumps. This is in an art gallery in a small Spanish town about an hour away from where I live, and I was driving through it. These guys didn't have enough money to get new furniture, so they got a whole bunch of people to donate furniture, and they found this paint, and they spray painted it. So it was reusable. They didn't want to wait to get more money. They found a way to make it happen. So ingenious. So one of the things that I couldn't find the space to do in New York, I was doing a little bit of it, but I've become significantly more of an eco advocate. Anybody who follows me on my social media, you will see. You'll see what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, and I'm trying to do it as a positive thing, researching and all that. So I have become that. And then I became a connector because I embraced technology. I'm closer to more people than I thought possible living in a small Spanish town. And I have a social network in Spain that is bigger than I've ever had because I forced myself to have a social life. And I can because it's a small, walkable city. So I became a little bit more holistically. Just the person I always wanted to be, just a little bit more of me. because I was able to redesign my life in a way to make it more sustainable. So what's your story going to be, people? What's going to go on? The idea of tonight's presentation was to tell you the things that happened, how I responded to them, and what I've done as a result, and who I became on the other end. To help you think about looking at your life in a slightly different way. Because I do believe that if we change on the inside, we can a much bigger, stronger power for changing things on the outside. It's just like having a project. You can think of it as a project. You're going to be the architect of your own life. What are you going to do? You're going to spend some time now thinking about your why, then you're going to develop what and who you want to become, and then figure out the implementation plan. You got this, girl. You got it, because you do it all the time for your clients. But maybe it's time we start doing it for ourselves first. So this is just my sustainable definition. Living a life that can be done so in harmony without long-term negative results to yourself, others, or the planet. So we've got it. Bam. That's not so difficult. It really isn't when you make it that simple. There's a much more long, lengthy, bureaucratic sustainability definition that Lead would tell you, but I'm not going to bore you with that one. So these are my 4 tips for you guys. You need to connect more, slow down, be in nature, and simplify. And what do I mean by connect more? In America, we somehow made being autonomous the kind of epitome of success. You know, think about this. The richer you get, the bigger your house is. You're in a gated community. The richer you get a car and you get somebody else to drive you, and God knows you would never go on public transportation. So the richer you get, the more isolated you become. And I'm going to say that's backwards. So throw that on its head. Touch people more. You will really like it. It changed my life. Spanish people have this crazy thing. They are always freaking connected to people. Their families and their friends. They have a thing called cuadrilla. Their childhood friends that live with them throughout their life, they're like blood. They are really important. You are with somebody in Spain, you are with all of their people. It's not an option. It's so nice. It's so refreshing. We work. I'm coming all the way over to see my family, who I see once a year if I'm lucky. You know? So I invite you to really think about how you connect. Some of you guys got it. But connect with your broader community, with your tribe, with your people. Some of us don't have the luxury of having our families close by. I get that. But you can be connected in other ways. Like I'm also really connected with my family with technology. Skype and video. I do it with my clients, I do it with my family. I really had to teach my family that it was okay, because they really struggled a little bit with that concept, but you can. And here's one that's so hard for you New Yorkers, I get it. But you will really, I'm not kidding you, if you embrace this as a new way of looking in your life, you will be so grateful to me, I swear unto God. Slowing down in Spain has sped up my entire life. And I get, both of these things seem a little bit counterintuitive, because that's not what we've been taught our whole life. You run, you are a hard worker, you gotta do this. But I promise you, if you slow down, you will think more clearly, you will sleep more deeply, you will know exactly where you are going. You will get rid of the things that do not serve you, because you will realize they don't serve you. How long do you sometimes stick around doing things that are not so good because you haven't really thought it through? Because you just haven't slowed down. I was that person, 14-hour days, a couple glasses of wine at night to go to sleep, and then wake up and do it all over again, rinse and repeat. I was rinsing and repeating for a really long time that didn't lead me to the best place. So this is something I highly advocate. I'm a tree hugger now, what can I say? I live by the beach. I get my feet into the sand as much as I possibly can. It gets my vibration much better. I know, the Japanese, what do they call it? What is that new thing in the Japanese? It's forest bathing. You go into the forest and you're bathed by the trees and the dappling light, and they have a Forest Therapy Society. Now, this is big. This is now scientifically proven, part of their medical community talks about the healing properties of being in nature. Forest bathing, I'm so there, I'm so there. So I'm just saying, go into nature more. Super hard in New York, I get, but not really. You've freaking got Central Park, you got parks, you do have the rivers. Just get yourself more connected. Holistic, balanced, feng shui, whatever you want to say, sustainable. We live in a world that can't function without nature. The more connected you are with those trees, we could solve the entire climate problem if we just planted a hell of a lot more trees. That is a scientific fact. We aren't doing it, we're cutting them down, people. If you get more in nature, you're not gonna wanna cut them down. And you're gonna feel much better. So that's my third tip. Another one, simplify. I know, hello, Faye. Simplify, simplify, simplify. Get rid of your stuff. Really look at your stuff. Hey, you can do the spark joy thing. I'm a little bit more about function and practicality than doesn't speak to me, which is important, but function first, people. And practicality. Throwing stuff away for the sake of throwing it away is really bad too. Not sustainable. Our landfills are overflowing. But your life can be simplified. Slowing down will simplify it. Not needing to get everything new. Reusing, repurposing, just refusing. No, don't need that, don't want that, that's okay. It's really, from my experience with my clients and with my own personal experience, my life has benefited tenfold from simplifying it. I have slowly started adding things back into my life, but only the ones that I really needed. 3 most dangerous words. Anybody know them?
Yes.
What?
Oh, that's one. Yes.
Oh, so that's very true, okay? But I was thinking it's a little more of like a sentence. And it is, I know that. Because a lot of the stuff I've talked about tonight, you've heard. Oh, I know that, I've heard that. Of course I know that we're supposed to be in nature, or slow down. Yeah, I get it. Really dangerous, people. Because if you knew it, you'd be doing it. So don't do that. I did. I was a know-it-all. I'm a recovering know-it-all. I really don't know it all now, I'm just sharing my own story. I'm sharing my own story because I'm hoping that I can inspire people to not have to hit the wall I hit, right? Sometimes we're a little stubborn, we all have to hit our own wall, we have our own journey. But I also want to say that my story isn't just like so perfect, you know, all that shit happened, it was awful and terrible and tragic, and then I came together, woo, moved to Spain and my life is perfect. There is no such thing as a happy after ever. There is no Disney. There is no Hollywood, there's none of this shit, people. Last year, I've been in Spain for 3 years, on the 3rd anniversary of being there, super happy, celebrating my life was really good. I'd had a couple losses in my life. 2 of my best friends had died very suddenly. But then on the 3rd anniversary of living there, my cat died. I know, bitch.
That's the worst.
Really, the exact day, fell off the roof, so freaking horrifying. And it threw me into a really dark place. For those of you that know me, that was a really dark place. It was even darker than the place that I was in New York. But I was in Spain, people. I could walk on the beach and cry every day. I could actually deal with my grief in a way that allowed me to really deal with my grief, instead of just swallowing it with a lot of wine. Don't let me tell you that I didn't do a lot of wine, because I did. But it was a much healthier process for me to go deep, and it made me go through some other grieving processes that I really needed to go through and release. So it's a correct and continue. It's not like I'm giving you the perfect formula. It's never gonna ever be easy. You're gonna always have to think, what's sustainable now? And the more you learn, the more you're gonna realize you need to learn, or the more you're gonna realize you don't know. But I'm hoping tonight that I have actually inspired you to start thinking a little bit differently. And doing nothing is doing something, people. I'm holding you all accountable. You want to keep your head in the sand? I'm not letting you anymore. You're all in this room. You can't pretend you didn't hear. And we can't let the bad side of capitalism, overconsumption, and being lazy win. We can't. Both from a personal perspective as well as a global perspective. Because there is a connection between your inner self and your outer self. You start honoring yourself, you will not dishonor the environment. They go hand in hand. When you are dishonoring the environment, it's because you are not respecting yourself. I believe that hands down. It's not just a pretty space, even though that's a very pretty space. And it is a very pretty space. But I say that, it's one of my taglines, because it's not just a pretty space, because a space isn't just about being pretty. But boy, are we good as decorators and designers pretending it's all about being pretty. It's so much more. It's about being sustainably pretty. It's about being environmentally conscious. It's about being mindful. There's a lot more I can talk about, but I won't bore you, but I need you to think that way. I have tons of projects as a designer that I've done over the years, and I do some workshops, interestingly enough, in Spain that show my before and afters and talking about what each project I did to make it more sustainable. I am not going to bore you with this. If anyone is interested in having some more conversation with me about these details, I will tell you. But it is bloody easy, people. It isn't that difficult. You know, using different types of furniture, putting window treatments on to stop the sun, lots of different things. Using recycled tile, keeping the bathroom in the same layout so you didn't have to change things. Certain things you can do make it less expensive, more sustainable on a lot of different ways. Or reusing things, reupholstering them, that's sustainable. So you can refuse, reduce, recycle, reuse. There's so many ways, obviously using low toxic materials and that kind of stuff. But this is what I do as a designer. But as a person, I talk to you about the other stuff that needs to be done. Because I believe you can make a difference with me, for you, for the world, for us all. I want you to be part of the change. And if you like my vibe, you can be part of my tribe. I do a lot of talking, obviously. I'm also a writer. I've got books over there. I write my blogs. I try to connect people. I try to talk about things that are valuable. I support, promote, and give ideas on how to do things. But the tribe is a connection thing. It's a two-way thing. I want my people, my peeps, my like-minded peeps to be part of my world. So if you do and you're not a part of my world, come up there, because I'm going to be much more active going forward than I have been in the past about promoting things. And one of the great things that happened out of last year's Correct and Continue, Lee's life story, when all the loss happened in my life in 2018, and I'm in Spain, and I'm going through the grieving process, one of my girlfriends that died, suddenly, I didn't actually know she died until she died, her ex-husband called me, and I was like, wow, that's so not good. She and I have been to Marrakesh, Morocco, magical place. She was another designer. I knew her from England for years. And we had made a dream of actually doing wellness retreats and having cool people, all our favorite people around us to kind of live in a commune. Probably a lot of wine in that conversation. But I decided I needed to make it happen this year in her honor. Marrakesh is an amazingly magical city. It is a blending of multiple old cultures that have all come together, and it's a very sustainable, very freaking cool place. It's where I'm launching my very first wellness retreat, 5 nights with me in an eco villa in Marrakesh, just outside of Marrakesh.
I saw the pictures. Very nice pictures.
Oh, yes. So it is about people who are looking to find a way to change their space inside and outside. There's a lot of cool stuff to go along with it as well. Really good food, massages, meditation, room for your own kind of travel stuff. If anyone is interested, I am giving a really ridiculous deal. 5 nights, $16.60, all inclusive. Obviously, that's not the flights, but it's everything else. So if you want to be a part of my tribe, please let me know. If you're not on my mailing list, we would love to have you. Lin Sue is another person that I am in love with, and I'm very grateful for. She's the person back there. This is a sustainable story, a relationship. Lin Sue came to me years and years ago as an intern, and then became an employee, and then became a friend, who still comes and supports me, and I love her, and she's coming to visit me in Europe. So go see Lin Sue if you're interested in being part of my ongoing tribe, and always remember you can change your space to change your life, and I am here to help you in any way I can, because together I think that we can create a sustainable future. So thank you. And I know there's wine and a little bit of food left, but does anybody have a question that you would like to ask me? You can ask me in this format, or if you're more comfortable, we can do it more privately. But does anybody?
Yeah.
Yes.
Why Spain of anywhere on the planet?
Good question. Why Spain? There's 2 answers to that. The first one was because I fell in love with this little seaside town in 1991 when I was backpacking as a kid. It's very beautiful. But the second reason is because the Spanish are the only people I know today that live a much more holistic life. Work is only one very small piece of their pie, and it's very small. And I get that partly is because of their socioeconomic and the fact that they had a dictator that didn't die until 1976. So they're much more of a second world country still than a first world country. And that's slowly changing even before my eyes. But they do care and have the community, and they don't say, "Hi, I'm Esley Wright, I'm a holistic interior designer." They're like, "Hi, I'm Lee, I'm a human being." And that's so nice. No one knew what I did for the first year and a half I lived there. I was just Lee, that chica from New York. They're so nice. So that was why I moved there. Anybody else? Yes, Benjamin.
So here's a question for you. Changing your life is so important, and yes, you take those steps. But you know, sometimes just like the tide, stuff floods in all around you. Can you give us any little tips or advice on how to recheck in with yourself to make sure that you're still looking after yourself and looking after those around you?
I think that's great. I think that living in the moment, my key to that, Benjamin, is going to go back to one of the things, slowing down. Because if you slow down and you make yourself have a practice that you actually don't keep running too fast, it's going to become more obvious when you're out of alignment. Okay? But I would also say, obviously I run my own company, right? Like we know this as small business owners. Discipline is really important. We call practice because it takes practice, and you're going to fall off the wagon sometimes. But if you slow down, that falling off the wagon is less and less. And I say that because I practice meditation, and I've been practicing meditation for like 25 years. I fall off the wagon much shorter periods of time than I've ever done in Spain, because I'm like, oh, I recognize it's not there. So I think that the key would be to slowing down and giving yourself that checklist. Another idea, spontaneously, is having accountability with your partner. A partner. That you would say, hey, what do you think? Anybody else have a question? Yes?
I know it must have been difficult to move to a place where, you're talking about how important family and friends are. Did you know people? I know you had a couple of friends there.
I knew nobody except a young man that I actually met when I was on holiday, so.
Because I'm terrified. I would love to make that kind of move, but how do you, and I need to be near family, I need to be near friends, and I have a lot of European relatives, but, I mean, how did you do that, to go to a place where you really didn't know?
So that's another lecture. I'm going to do a lecture on the 10 things not to do when you move to a foreign country. Seriously.
I immediately.
Yeah. So the short question is, if I knew how hard it was going to be, I'm not sure I would do it. Story of my life. Just dive in and do it. I have a lot of really good friends there. I have a total community. The people that have lived there that I know that are, I have multiple different tribes now. One of them are most expats that have lived there for about 25 years who have married a local Basque person. And they say that the best parties are Lee's parties. I've just got them all together.
What party? Oh,
My party, Lee's parties. I'm like, oh, it's time for a party. You know, so I just get people together. I made it a conscious decision that I was gonna have a social life. When I lived in New York, I worked. And you know, the people who knew me were the people I worked with. So I had my clients, then I had my industry suppliers and my architects and designer friends, and we were all workaholics together. So we were like in that crazy world together. And you know, kind of like people who go through war together, we're bonded. But when I went to Spain, I was like, whoo, I can have a social life, and I do. So someone would call me up and ask me for a coffee, I'd go. A wine, I'd go. So I didn't speak a word of Spanish. Well, that's not true. I knew hola. And I think I knew vino or something. 4 years later, 3 published books, and I'm still just passing A1 Spanish. So fabulously humbling to realize just incredibly how crap I am at languages. But now I'm okay with sounding like a special needs child. I can get what I need, you know. Yeah, my boyfriend's French and he's so horrified by my accent. Whatever. Yes.
Did you find that your support system when you were here in New York was greater or less than when you went to Spain?
That's a good question. She asked me if she found my support system in New York when I moved to Spain was greater or less. I'm going to say it was different. It was different. Yes, very different. Some things surprised me and some things didn't. What I actually didn't do, because I did it purely for me, I was surprised that anybody thought it was cool. This conversation here is only because so many people kept asking me about what I've done and why I did it. So I thought, well, I'm just going to start talking about it a little bit more because the people I would talk about it would be such an interesting conversation. So that kind of surprised me because I was like, oh, I didn't do it for that reason. And it was interesting to see those people. So in a lot of ways, it's tightened my tribe because I've become more authentically me. And then I'm recognizing that I'm redoing my website right now because I realized my website was really beautiful, but I don't know who that Lee was. Like it was a really polished, sophisticated Lee. And I'm not that person. I'm really just not that person. I mean, I'm kind of a little geeky and a little bit awkward or what, you know, but I love life and I'm kind of can have that, but I'm not like this polished, sophisticated person. So it helped me become more authentic, and with that it kind of, some people it shed and some people it attracted, and that's kind of nice. And the technology, I'm so connected to people now. It's like I'm really, David I didn't even know before I moved to Spain, and we've become best buddies. So, yeah.
I would say you're authentically.
Oh, I love that, authentically.
You know?
That's so nice.
Authentically sophisticated.
Well, I love the fact that you
Yeah.
can sophisticated.
I kind of was like looking into that, like basically, did you feel you were more authentic once you went to Spain as versus here, or you were feeling like you were getting caught in the rat race here?
I was totally getting caught in the rat
Yeah.
race. And I was listening to the wrong vibration. I was walking to the wrong step. And maybe I had been walking to the right step, or it had been my step at some point. Because I remember giving other people advice, get out of New York, get out of Dodge, because it can eat you alive if it's not your vibration. And there's no judgment with that. But there was judgment for me.
Yeah.
I thought, shit, I can handle this. There is no way. This is my place. And it wasn't my place. It wasn't my place. Yeah.
I just want to say, the unknown for me observing you was a great journey. So, maybe the 10 things not to do to move to a city, but I think not knowing them, obviously, your journey, you evolved and you became this wonderful.
You know what I love about
Yeah,
human
story.
beings? I would tell you the 10 things not to do, honey, and you'd still go do them.
Yeah.
People
sure.
I
people
think that's
just
part of the
have to
journey.
go through their own
Yeah.
journey.
Yeah.
Even if I tell them. Sometimes it's a little less bumpy in one or two areas,
Yeah.
but I think my mom taught me that a long time ago. I really wish I could teach you not to do that, but you're gonna do it anyways. Because you learn that way. We learn through pain. I wish we weren't. Faye, you have had your hand up patiently.
How did you meet the friends that you made? How did you meet your tribe?
Good question. I was active. I walked a lot. When I liked
How
somebody,
did you approach people? What did you say? Did they approach you?
quiero un vaso de vino, por favor. At that time, it was probably like, vino, please. So I would go out socially because they're very social people, so they're street people. So you're always bumping into people. So I would be on the sidewalks and they talk to each other. Crazy shit, right? Because here, that's not so much the vibe, but there they do. They all talk to each other. The Basque are a little bit different than the Spanish, a whole other story. But I made contact and reached out to a few people, and through those people, they introduced me to other people and that kind of thing. That's the way always it is. I met 3 guys walking down the street during San Juan, and this was a year after I lived there. They heard my accent because I was talking to another German girlfriend, but we were speaking in English, because obviously I don't speak German, or Spanish at that point. So they heard us, they were English. They had lived in San Sebastian for 32 years. They were the old guy, the old guard, right? And they were like, oh, we are so gonna take you out for a gin and tonic. At 1 o'clock in the morning. I was like, woo, okay, fine. They knew everybody. They had been there for 32 years. They knew lots of people from a variety of places. They introduced me to people in an art gallery. And I'm not really friends with the 3 older guys anymore, but I'm friends with a whole bunch of other people through that. But I put myself out a lot. I made it a commitment. I have a freaking social life, man. Like such a social life. And I throw a good party. Lindsay.
So you talk about social life, which I think is very important because it teaches you a lot about yourself. But would you say the most challenging of relationships to have in life is with yourself?
Totally. Absolutely. Being authentic with yourself. I always thought I was a very honest person. But I think that I had somehow not 100% revised my vision of the life that I wanted after my 20s. I think we often set a goal down for who we are in our teenage years. With my clients, I do a process that's called the Magic Box process that gets everybody to go deep into who they are. I hadn't done it myself really. So yeah, my relationship with myself was and continues to be. I mean, I joke about it. Doing my own apartment, oh my God, I was the hardest client. All over the place, crying. So yeah, relationship with yourself is most challenging, but the most pivotal. If you can get that right, then everything else is gonna fall into place.
Can you live a sustainable life if people around you are not living sustainable life? I mean, you are. It's sort of hard to make space for yourself, right? Like you made space for yourself in a place where people make space for themselves. So.
Well, I'm gonna say I'm also a small space designer, right? So I have won awards because I do believe in that, and I live in a tiny freaking apartment in Spain, let me just tell you, it is so small. And I went to visit my best girlfriend from high school, and she's buying this house in Connecticut, and I'm like, oh my God, your master bedroom is like 3 times bigger than my entire apartment in Spain. It gives me like small heart palpitations, but it's a good question because there are communities that talk about when you are living your authentic life, but the people around you aren't. Stay true to who you are, create a little bit of a space, literally kind of like a vibrational space, and just stay true. 2 things will happen. wanna hear this?
Yeah.
The people who aren't in your vibration are gonna fall away. They're just gonna fall away.
Yep.
Without a drama, it doesn't need to be a drama, they're just not gonna be walking in the same vibration as you, so you're not gonna be with them. Some of them can't, I mean, you know, some of them are like blood, right? God, if you knew my family in Rochester. You know, I love them, I love my family, but man, are they not very sustainable. So I go there and I try to make my little inroads. And I just say, peace be with you, but oh my gosh, please do not serve me on plastic. Like you have an entire house full of china and a dishwasher. And people don't have a problem washing dishes, so don't, you know. So I make inroads with them. It takes a long time. And I have to just trust that they're on their own path. There have been people that I've cut out of my life. Cut out of my life, that sounds so horrible. They just disappeared. You know, if you don't like my vibe, don't want to hang on. You know, and that's cool though. We spend way too much time. I love this. There are 3 types of people in the world. People are either going to love you, people are going to hate you, or they're not going to pay attention to you. I spent a long time trying to get those people that hated my guts to like me. You know, I was the girl that was beaten up in high school and junior high. So I got bullied a lot before bullying. I moved when I was 12 years old, so I was the new girl on the block. So I was prime meat, right, for teenage girls. So I spent a lot of my life trying to get people to like me. God, how liberating to go, so it doesn't matter. They're gonna not like you for no other reason other than you're just not their kind of people, and that's okay. So focus on the people who love you. You're gonna be invisible to some people too, but you know, we spend way too much time on the other 2/3. Focus on your third.